Hi, I'm glad you're joining us today for this video where I will be responding to the question, why should I pay closing costs for the buyer? The markets change at different rates, but one thing is always constant. We will always see shifts from a seller's market to a buyer's market and back. At the present time here in Georgetown, as with many markets across the country, we are experiencing a shift from a seller's market to a more balanced market. This is important to understand so you know what to expect when you receive offers. Not long ago, buyers would not have considered asking sellers to pay toward their buyer's closing cost, but that was then, and this is now. Now, it's not uncommon for buyers to include seller to pay toward buyer's closing cost. Your initial reaction may well be, I'm not paying towards the buyer's closing cost, that's their responsibility. I understand the response, but let's look at how this can be handled. Buyer's closing costs generally include fees associated with the mortgage, if there is a mortgage, paying for buyer's title policy, the appraisal, and so on. If a VA or FHA loan is involved, these can be as much as 3% of the total sales price. Let's face it, most buyers don't have a lot of extra money laying around as they want to use the money for the down payment on the house. That is why now it's not uncommon for buyers to request the seller to absorb the closing costs or some of the closing costs for the buyer. Here's the good news. Depending on the price of the home and the fees associated with the closing costs, generally the sales price can be adjusted to offset the buyer's closing cost. Now the house will have to appraise at this higher price, but it is a possible and a very successful strategy. If you're following this, you may well be thinking, but then isn't the seller paying for their closing costs? Yes, they are. Well, the contract says seller to pay for buyer's closing costs. If those have been rolled into the sales price, it's really not an expense to the seller. It's kind of like when you buy a car, and car dealerships will offer to pay your title, tag, and taxes. Actually, we know those costs are really rolled into the price of the vehicle. Now keep in mind, the strategy won't work in all cases, and not all buyers are going to ask the seller to pay towards their buyer's closing cost. But this is where your realtor comes into play. Our job is to discuss the cost of what will be involved in the closing and identify the best strategy and the best outcome. That's what our responsibility is. I hope this has helped you understand a little bit more about the current market in terms of what you might expect for an offer. Feel free to give us a call for more information about closing costs or the current real estate market, or just real estate or downsizing in general. We'd love to hear from you. It's Virginia Lazenby, Seniors Living Smarter, 512-818-0988. Have a great day.